Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Caffeine and Sensu Beans podcast. I am One Kick Man and I'm joined by Chiween. Chiween, how are you doing, bro?
I'm doing all right, man. Just getting geared up for this school year starting
Yeah,
tomorrow. So I'm just getting ready, man, mentally and spiritually.
yeah, yeah. Well, I wish you luck in your, venture and your uh, going back to work venture. So hopefully it all pans out. So we'll see how that goes. Um, Yeah, so we figured today we would jump right into the Dragon Ball stuff so we don't
Hmm.
so we don't end up talking way too much about other things that aren't related to Dragon Ball when we consider ourselves a Dragon Ball podcast. So, um
Yeah, it took
to
us I think almost like 40 minutes to talk about Dragon Ball
yeah,
last episode.
and we try not to go over an hour, cuz then
Yeah,
it's like, well, we got things we need to attend to, and then obviously we don't want folks to be like, "Oh, these guys are dragging it out way too long." So, uh yeah, today we thought we'd do something cool. Talk about the what I would say are the two best and the primary arcs in the Dragon Ball Z saga, which is the Cell arc and the Namek arc. Right, I feel like those are obviously there will be differing opinions, but the general consensus is those are the two best arcs. I
hmm.
figured, we talk about like why those two arcs just kind of air quotes hit different, and
Hmm.
and why they were so popular. I feel as if we were to see a chart of Dragon Ball Z's popularity, like a line chart,
Hmm.
we would see that two spikes in those
Hmm.
two arcs. That's just my personal opinion. But but I personally think those are the two best arcs. I'm gonna actually ask you before we get into it. Do you think those are the two best arcs? Or
Yeah, yeah.
and
I think it's pretty unanimous at this point, right? Like those two are the
top
best
ones?
ones. And
How
the
did
thing is, like, I don't even think the Cell Saga is even. I mean, I think the Cell Saga is underrated, even with that statement. Like, I think it's like
right? That's
I feel like
crazy.
when we talk about the best arc in Dragon Ball Z, I think there's a leniency towards Frieza.
I think so. I think there's a little bit of like romanticism with the fact that Goku turned Super Saiyan for the first time. Um, and but real quick, like, what's your whole thing? Like, how do you feel about both arcs? I know that obviously you said you think they're the best, but your general sense of like how you feel about both arcs.
Yeah. Well, the Frieza arc, as we mentioned in the last episode, it was the arc that I kept seeing over and over again on Toonami. So
Hmm.
it kind of became ingrained in my head of like, what the fuck happens.
Right.
So there's that nostalgic tie to it. So I think that when I think about the Frieza arc, I think it's you have so many like cool moments in that arc. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just you got that Super Saiyan, you got the Ginyu Force in there, you got like a whole new type of like Dragon Ball set, new setting.
Hmm.
They have like like Piccolo's home is at the center. It's just
Hmm.
they got so many like cool aspects to it.
So
So
many cool aspects. And let me real
yeah,
just to add on to that, dude. Like, I think because we're so far removed from Namek, we forget that they really took their time to develop the world, at least more than any other world that we've seen since Dragon Ball Z. Like, think about the Namekian race. They had their own language and they can communicate in their own language. They could
yeah,
also, they also had, not all of them, but is it telepathic when you can speak, like,
hmm,
read minds or whatever? They had that. Uh, there was just like this, like you said, you were being thrusted into a new world, and it opened your
yeah.
eyes to a new reality in the uh, Dragon Ball Z space. So, but
Yeah, I mean, it was super nice. It was super nice to just go into somebody else's world, and they really thought about different aspects. It kind of reminds me of Star Wars a little bit of just going to a different planet and kind of experiencing people in a different light, and you know. I think this concept that there's other life outside
Yeah,
of us, you know.
right,
So I think that to me, that's one of probably one of the dopest parts about that arc,
right.
the
And
imagination that it took to develop that other like world.
yeah, because you don't really see that in the other Dragon Ball Z arcs. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Where they actually travel to another world and there's a different species there. Um, and they're a regenerative species that can they don't die easily. Well, of course, unless they come across someone like Frieza. And they have their own language. They really feel like their own people. They don't feel like
Hmm.
they're just, you know, uh henchmen or um they don't feel as if they're super cookie cutter. They actually feel as if they're their own people. They have their own ties, their communities, and it was really cool to see that Dragon Ball Z writers, when they want to, specifically Akira Toriyama, obviously, when they want to, they can develop a real good world, and they did that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they. I think what I liked about it, going on that same path, is the fact that the Namekian race, you become sympathetic towards them, which
Oh,
which I think is a key component to that story, where you feel bad for the Namekians, and there's a reason why Goku is needed and the team is needed, because
mm-hmm.
these people are suffering under the rule of Frieza for literally no reason other than just him, uh, going in there to terrorize and get the Dragon Balls. So,
Yeah.
and that land is there. It kind of reminds me of the indigenous people here in the story, like the story here, right? Of like somebody coming over here, taking over their shit and taking away their resources, and it becomes a sympathetic story of that there was life there, that they exist and that they matter, and that we need an extra like support to be able to combat it.
Yeah, I think it's like that parallel to like conquest times when the the world was in a crazy upheaval of uh regimes that went out and overtook, you know, communities and things like that. And obviously that's in this saga, in this arc, pardon me. I mean, you see Frieza obviously looking to get the Dragon Balls. He wants to be immortal because he wants to continue his reign. And Vegeta wants to get the Dragon Balls for his own purposes. And we're coming off an arc where we believe Vegeta is the bad guy. And he has his own selfish reasons, but he teams up with who we perceive as the good guys because um he has his own end goal that he wants to get to. And so it's one of these things. And he knows he has to team up with them, even though he doesn't necessarily want to, because he was just fighting with them not too long ago. Now he's got Frieza to contend with, where he didn't have that in the past in, planet Earth. Now he's got Frieza in his way. And so it's the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So
Mm-hmm.
he's teaming up with this with the humans. And a lot of there are a lot of stories that get a lot of loose ends that I feel they're tied up um in this saga, right? Like it is a long saga. It is or arc. It is a long arc if you think about it.
Yeah,
I
super
mean,
long.
super long, dude.
Yeah,
And
super.
yeah, and I mean, think about like first you see Dodoria and Zarbon. They're kind of the main heavy hitters, and uh they really are powerful. And shit, like you don't know if Gohan, Krillin, Vegeta are going to be able to take them on.
Yeah.
um they have their own unique fighting style, own unique transformations. um you have the Namekians who have some warriors, but that obviously they're not at the level of like a Vegeta, a Goku, even a Piccolo. Um, but they do have their own warriors. Gohan has his kind of not yet, but you can see it like every arc. We touched on it last week a little bit where
Mhm.
um the Dragon Ball Super Dope podcast said in one of their episodes, Gohan is a barometer for um the series Dragon Ball Z. So his outfit tells you exactly where you are in the series. I'll add
Mhm.
to that. Every arc, Gohan has an individual, like, not a coming of age story, but every arc he's increasing his strength a little bit, and it's almost it's part of his own rite of passage. Like it's all leading up to what will eventually come in the Cell Saga. Uh, and in this one, he has his power unlocked, which is by the Grand Elder Namekian.
Yeah.
Um, and 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 I think these are like really cool concepts, having like a real wise elder Namekian who's able to unlock the powers of Gohan that he has dormant and Krillin as well. Um, and also having these kind of ancillary characters that play their support roles like Dende. He had his role and
Yeah.
he's forgotten a little bit, which is unfortunate, but he played his role very well. Um, you came to care for Dende, uh, and yeah, they just made like this real cool trio, and then you throw Vegeta in that mix, and somehow it's not supposed to work with these guys. You have these different backgrounds, these literally different races. You have these different ways of thinking as well, different motives too, because he's way different than a Dende. But
Yeah.
all of them have somehow now channeled uh their ire, their anguish, their anger, their fear, like everything towards this one goal, and they're all working together. And it's really cool to see like that team that you would think has no chemistry, like now, and they maybe don't have chemistry, but they're working together, like they're somehow on the same team. uh so it's just different ingredients, and I think those different elements make for like a real cool story, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about this arc is there's this like level of anticipation and almost like mystique around all the antagonists.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it just adds another layer to them that I like super like.
Yeah.
There's a scene in the first couple of episodes once Gohan and Krillin and Bulma make it to planet Namek. There's a scene in there, and I forget where when it happens, but there's a scene that I just really like. It's just this scene. It's just like a really subtle scene, but it adds so much. It's like I think they might have Dende with them, or they might, I forget what exactly is that they get. They might have
Mm-hmm.
gotten a Dragon Ball. I don't know. And they go back to their hideout,
Yeah.
and at the same time they show this scene where Frieza tells the boys, or it's even might even Frieza, and they're just flying,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just flying across the space, and Gohan and Krillin are just staring at like, what the hell is that? Like their
Right.
power is just ridiculous.
Right. Right.
In the music and just their facial expressions and just that little subtle moment of like, oh snap, this is about to get real. They're super strong, and
Right.
we're hiding, and like it's just like this like almost like a scary movie type of vibe, right? Of like, oh man, I do not want them to see me. I do not want them to even. I don't even want them to even look over here.
Yeah.
And there's so many of those like pieces in the story that really work well. Like I just love that like scene.
I
That
know
because
what you're
it's
talking
so.
about.
You know what I'm talking about?
And I know, yeah, I know which one you're talking about when they sense Frieza and when Krillin Bulma and Gohan sense Frieza and Zarbon into Doria as well, and they're just flying to go find a Dragon
Yeah,
Ball.
that's all they're doing. They're just flying. They're not
And
even like going. They're not even fighting or anything. They're just
right,
flying.
but it's done so well that you can sense Frieza's Frieza and also like his henchmen, they're a cut above the rest, and they're not doing anything spectacular. They're just flying across Namek, and Gohan and Krillin are, and Bulma as well, hiding to make sure that they don't get spot. But you can tell just there's nothing spectacular happening in front of your eyes, but still there's you can feel how strong Frieza in particular is, and it adds to his, like you said, mystique. It adds to the hype, right? So it's like it's you do enough of those little enough of those, like you have enough of those little moments that it adds up to a big crescendo of a moment, which obviously you get to, um but it's laying that groundwork just a little bit at a time that you may not even necessarily consciously think, but you feel it, and eventually obviously it leads to the big final fight. But it's dropping those little moments without having to show you Frieza destroying a planet or killing someone, that shows you how strong he is, you know.
So one of my other favorite scenes is when he's fighting Nail, and Nail gets like a big power boost,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then Frieza's just like, oh wow,
Yeah.
70,000 power, like that's so impressive. And then like,
No,
he's like,
he's not scared at all.
I'm like at 700,000 or something
Yeah.
ridiculous shit, and I'm like, oh my god, is it? But that's just like the level of intent. Like that's just how above he is around everyone around him.
Yeah.
That it just it just really creates this like sense of desperation where you really do need Goku. Like you actually
Yeah.
need him. Like you for legit need him.
Yeah.
And, and even then, you still don't know if Goku has it, right? You still don't know.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
like that type of like story is like that's just there's just so many things working for it, right? Of like you desperately need the hero to be, and even in that wanting, you're still unsure whether
Exactly.
they're actually gonna pull through. And they even end the arc with that of like, this level
Did he
of
die
like
or not?
cliffhanger. Yeah,
Yeah.
like almost like a cliffhanger, because that's just how powerful this being was.
Yeah. No, it's 100% true, because I can recall, and they did it so well where Goku can't save you. And
Yeah.
and even if Goku was here, he's kind of like a last bullet in the chamber type of thing. Like you're just hoping that he's strong enough to be able to defeat these guys. But regardless, Goku can't save you. He is literally out in space, and he can't get here fast enough. Like he's trying to get here as fast as he can. So it's up to you guys to face these dudes or stall. But there's a real sense of, damn, one of these guys can really die here. One of these guys can really lose their lives. And you see that, you see constantly characters punching above their weight, whether it's Krillin, whether it's Dende, whether it's Nail, whether it's Gohan, whether it's Piccolo as well. Um, and then obviously, uh, Goku comes in, and he is definitely a cut above the rest when he shows up. But everyone has their own story in here, and it's handled so well. Vegeta has his. I think Vegeta's story is. Mm, I don't want to say that it's not appreciated enough, but I feel as if it isn't, because a lot of people will point to when Vegeta fought Boo. And I mean, yeah, that was a great moment. And he was battling a lot of demons in that particular arc. But in this one, he wants the he wants the Dragon Balls because yes, he wants to be the strongest being as well, and he wants to be the strongest, Saiyan in the universe, the strongest person in the universe. But he wants to defeat Frieza, and Frieza is is the reason for why his life has unfolded how it has, you
Mhm.
know? And more so than Goku, I would say, because I mean, yes, he did impact Goku, but Goku, he lost his memory. Didn't know he was a Saiyan, and maybe they would have came and looked for him. Maybe they wouldn't have. They eventually did. Raditz did, and Vegeta and Nappa did, but he really impacted Vegeta's. Like Vegeta knew that he was going to be the king one day,
Mhm.
and eventually, Frieza said, "No, you're not," and he killed his entire race. And so Vegeta has this goal to defeat Frieza because he represents everything that he took away from him, and he can't he can't defeat him, like. And it's tough to see that, to see someone that's helpless, that's, even though they've tried so hard, and the person is right there in front of him, the one that's caused him so much stress, he still falls short, you know.
Yeah.
um and and he has that moment, obviously, with Goku. It's legendary, like it's revered, where he's telling Goku why this means so much to him, and
Mhm.
he's wasting his last few breaths saying, telling Goku why it means so much to him, what Frieza has done, and how Frieza has, extinguished his race, their race.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, man, I feel like Vegeta's story is a little underappreciated, but I think it's still incredibly important to pushing the overall story forward.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely where you see Vegeta finally making that turn into being part of the main
Yeah.
cast, right? Like he's they do many things with his character, like but I think that's the common theme in this story for him. He's coming up short. Like even against Raccoon, he falls
Yeah.
short. Like he falls short against Frieza, against
Mhm.
getting the Dragon Balls. Like he just keeps falling short, and I
Yeah.
think that is what makes him endearing, and that's why you kind of buy into him because it's like you want this guy to win
You could feel his
because
frustration, because
you
we've
feel
all
his
kind of been there
frustration.
too.
Yeah, so you feel his frustration of not being able to accomplish something that that he set out, and it's a matter of how do you repurpose it, or how do you direct it yourself, and I think that's what you kind of get at the end of it, right, where
Right,
he finally
because
comes to terms with, yeah, I have to give you my last power because
yep,
it's bigger than me now, and I have to come to the understanding that it's bigger than me.
right. It's like, exactly, how does he find his purpose again? Because he was dead set on defeating Frieza. That was what he was working towards. But when he just cannot do it, it's like, well, what can I do now? And
Yeah.
that's obviously, it's a deep question, but it was you saw it manifesting in the arc, for Vegeta. And he goes from being a lone wolf to teaming up with, you know, Krillin, Gohan, Bulma, etc., to dying in front of Goku and pleading with Goku to finish this guy. And it was just a great story overall for him. Um, but Goku's entrance, like, how did you feel they handled it? Yeah, how did
When
you feel they had?
they came in to fight against Ginyu,
Yeah, like
the Ginyu
every,
Force,
yeah,
I thought that was done perfectly, man. I think you're talking about uh it's just such a dope entrance, like
yeah,
it's just like they're just getting their asses handed to them by the Ginyu Force, and he kind of just comes in and just like, hold up, dog, there's another dog here, what I'm saying, and you haven't met me, like that's
and
cute. So it's just like it almost reminds me of like, and this arc, what it really reminds me of, when I used to like the WWF a lot
uh-huh,
during that time when Stone Cold and The Rock were kind of like at the top of the game.
right,
There was this moment in one story. There was this guy named Eugene, and like the fans like really adored him because like
Mhm.
he was supposedly like special needs. You know,
Mhm.
like it supposedly we ended up finding out later on that he wasn't. He was
Right.
playing that role. But there comes a point where like The Rock had been away for a while. We hadn't seen him in a minute, and Eugene is getting bullied by like one of the announcers, and then he makes Eugene cry, and then Eugene
Mm.
is helpless. He can't do anything. He cannot do anything to like the dude is just battering him, just like making him feel like shit, and the crowd is just booing the hell into it. And
Right.
I'll never forget this because like I've never felt this much like just excitement. And then
Hype. Yeah.
all of a sudden, you just hear the Rock's music, and like the whole fucking place explodes
Yeah.
because now my boy is here, and he's
Yeah.
about to fucking whoop this dude's ass. And like I get juiced up talking about it
Yeah,
now.
for
Like
real.
it's one of my most favorite like memories because like The Rock and Stone Cold just used to do this. They like their music, everything was just done perfectly so that their entrance just evoked an emotion out of you. And
Yep.
when I think about Goku's entrance in this, it did the same thing. Like
Yeah.
they were just like Vegeta, that's my guy, and he got like stomped out by Raccoon. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you just hear fucking like my boy just fucking come in with his fucking horse and just like, you
Yeah.
know,
And
takes them all on.
yep. And you know what's crazy is like when he showed up, like you knew something was different about him.
Yeah, dude. There's just something different about
Yeah.
my boy right
And you're
there.
like, oh shit, this is a different animal now. And yeah, no, 100% I agree, you know, because they're they're of course it's like Frieza and Goku are going to meet eventually. And there's still a little bit of uncertainty because you think maybe Vegeta, like fuck it, if his plan works out where he kills himself and comes back to life, like
Yeah.
maybe he can pull it off too. But
Yeah.
um there there's been this whole wait to see Goku and hope that he gets there in time. That when he finally gets there is that exact same level of excitement. I mean, I also have and I don't want to say it because I don't want to spoil it, but I know what you're talking about. I felt that too. I felt it with this, and I felt it with another show, and yeah, it was crazy, man. I mean, they did it perfectly. You know, they did it perfectly.
Yeah,
Um,
there's that again, that anticipation. Like Goku, you don't really see Goku all like that. I mean, you get a little bit of his life, like on the like in this pod, like trying to get there.
mhm,
But like, meanwhile, he's getting there. You know, there's this all this suffering happening, and then
mhm,
it's like you want him to get there, and it's like you get so many like cliffhangers of like, is he gonna get there now? Is he not gonna get there now?
right,
And like he finally gets there in like this like monumental moment where we're introduced to these villains that are like they're unique and they handle our team super fast. Like they just
right.
handle them like they
Like they
even
were
handle the
nothing.
top dog, which is Vegeta, right in the pack. Like it's just
Right.
like, oh, okay, now we got Krillin out here.
And you know
You know,
what?
like
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is fuck.
like we're down to just Krillin taking the last shot. You know,
Fuck.
like
Yeah. This
we're,
is exactly like
we're,
that. This
you know what
is
I'm
like
saying? And that's my guy. But you know, it's just but that's what's dope about Krillin is that that's the role that he plays, right? Of like, oh snap, now it's down to him. And
fuck.
you're rooting now for him, but
And
we all deep down know that he's not about
he's
his
gonna
shit.
get destroyed, yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
he's gonna get destroyed. So when he comes in, it's just like this is like exactly how you said though, like this is a different aura about him. But
yep.
you know, talking about this, it makes me question because we keep talking about there's so many perfect parts of this, but is there any part of this arc that like you think that they
Could have handled better.
could have handled better, or is this the perfect arc like in Dragon Ball Z?
Ah, man, that's a great question because to me, and maybe I'm seeing this with rose tinted glasses, but um uh could they have handled it better? You know,
Like, is there any parts that they uh could have done without, or like maybe like is there
that's a
any
great
like shortcomings of this arc, or is it just like the epitome and the tip top of like this is the most perfect arc that they've ever created, or
Uh,
like the
you
best
know,
written story.
right for them. Um, wow, man. Honestly, I don't have an answer for you. I don't think so. Like because I've never sat down and thought about it. Maybe there is, and if but right now I'm trying to think about it, and I just felt like every every piece to this puzzle fit where it had to. I mean, you may say something right now, and it may actually like enlighten me, but
Well, I
as
have two knocks on it. I think I
okay,
have two knocks on the arc, but
okay,
I wanted to hear if you have any knocks on it.
shit, man. Honestly, no.
No, okay, okay. So my first knock is the length.
Oh,
The
okay.
length of the arc I felt like was super long, and
Yeah.
there are a bunch of filler episodes that I
Yeah.
think I think that, I mean, obviously that happens in anime, but that to me is one of the biggest turnoffs about the arc is
Yeah.
the just the length and just how long it is. You know, it's
Yeah.
just like a super. Even if it's not long, like maybe I'll look at it and it's be like, oh, it's not even that long,
No,
really.
it
Like it's
felt
only like
long.
40 episodes, but it really does feel long.
Felt hella
And
long. Yeah.
yeah, it definitely felt long, and that's to me that's not always like that's one of the knocks that I have.
Yeah, because we're
It
talking about
feels long.
from the moment Krillin, Bulma, Gohan go to Namek to when Goku's, looking for trying to get into Frieza's pod and the whole planet explodes, right? Like that
Yeah,
is a
it's
lot right there that has
there's a
happened.
lot that we talked a lot about what's happened in the arc, and there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things happening. You
Yeah.
know, it's like a slow moving arc.
I mean, we
So
don't talk about Piccolo's journey,
yeah,
Nails.
we
Like
haven't even
there's
touched that.
so many things, because I know we want to get to the Cell stuff because that's an incredible arc as well. That one I do have something
Oh,
I need
okay.
to I didn't mean to cut you off.
And then the second knock that I have on it, which I mean, this may be unpopular, but I think that Frieza's fight, while it was cool and it was cool to see Super Saiyan in it, I feel like the transformations to me felt a little rushed. And
Okay.
I think
That's a good
that
interesting.
they, it's interesting because the arc feels long, but I feel like that fight, I, I mean, it does feel long, but for some reason, it also feels rushed, which is, and I'm not
Yeah,
really
because
sure
he
as to
went
quite what happens there because we get this build up to him that he's super strong, and and then all of a sudden he then gets to a point where he transforms three times. Oh no,
yeah.
four times, right?
He goes from 2 to 3 quick, dude, like two,
Yeah, two,
three,
three quick,
and
and then
then
he
it's
goes to the third. Then
he
he
goes
goes to
to
the next
fourth.
one
Yeah.
a lot quicker,
Uh,
and then we get to the last one,
he
right?
gets
Where
it
he's
where
like,
he's 100% and he's just like yoked, like yeah.
yeah. So we get all of these transformations, and it felt like it was just super rushed.
Hmm.
Uh, and maybe, I mean, maybe that's a part of the transformations, but to me, I mean, maybe I'm looking too much into it, but that would be one of my knocks with it is that I feel like that last section
Yeah.
where he's transforming, maybe they could have just done three
You know what? That's a
transformations
good
for me.
point because
Like,
let's
I think if they would have just like honed in on that third one, because that's probably the coolest one that they had, right? Where he doesn't look like his dad, he doesn't look like he has a long head. But that
yeah.
third one where he where, where
No,
he's just kind of bald, you know what I'm
right,
saying?
Yeah.
And then maybe he goes into the buff one. Like
Right. The one everyone knows him by. Yeah.
this is Monday morning quarterback stuff, but like
Yeah. Right.
that like that to me
A little unnecessary.
a little unnecessary, you know.
Yeah,
And,
because
and that's really it that I can think about. The length in that in Frieza's transformation.
yeah, and I hadn't thought about that. And you're right. I mean, it's a minute thing, but let's be honest, Frieda's not remembered for his second or his third form. Like,
I wouldn't
right.
even say his last one.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I didn't even remember it, to be honest with you.
No, no, no,
I
no.
thought he stayed in that last one.
Oh, right. When
I
he's
thought he
super,
stayed in
like more slender version of him.
the
Yeah,
slender version. Yeah. No, I'm
right.
talking about the super buff one. I
Got it.
didn't even remember he went into that one. I didn't even
Yeah,
remember that that was a transformation.
yeah. And it's when he goes, "I'm at 100%."
Yeah.
No, but I get what they tried to do is they tried to do like because who fought Frieza first? I think it was fuck. We're gonna get slaughtered. I think it was Krillin and Gohan. They tried fighting him. Second form was Vegeta. Okay. Third form, I think it was Gohan again, but this time Gohan was like stronger. And then the fourth form Piccolo fought him. But they tried to make it seem like uh every transformation, a new guy was fighting him, and it was showing you how he's elevated his power, you know. Could they have had that demonstration of power, of that demonstration of increasing power without transformations? Yeah, because reality is no one likes Vegeta's long head. That transformation's not clean, dog. All right. Like, but nah, yeah, it's a minute thing, but now overall, you know, great series. But I don't want to take, and there's still so much. Like I said, there's so much
Yeah,
there.
we're leaving a lot of stuff out.
There's so
But
much stuff. We're not even talking about Goku's transformation. Like I said, Piccolo, Bulma being there, Dende, like the Namekians. Anyway, I mean, we touched on the Namekians, but there's still so much there. But the Cell Saga, I would say the Cell arc. I would say, is that your favorite arc?
you know, replaying Kakarot, which I know we're gonna talk about in another episode, like
Yep.
going through that arc through that game, it really just brought me back to that arc when I was watching it, and I think I've grown in my appreciation for it. So I'll say that it probably is my favorite arc now. I
So
think just because of the
give it
elements
to me.
there,
Why?
the elements in that arc are, well, one, it's the villain that people like the least in Japan. So we'll
Crazy.
get that out the way, which is ridiculous. But
Crazy,
but
dude.
but to me, he is probably, if not the best written villain, he's up there
Mhm.
because his transformations, they're same as Frieza, right? He transforms, but his transformations, I think, are different in regards to how we even get introduced to him. Like
Mhm.
his transformations are, he's a sneaky villain, which I don't
And
think
let me
people give
add
him
one
credit
thing.
for.
You're right. And one way his transformations differ a little bit from Frieza is the fact that he has a barrier to achieving that transformation, something that Frieza doesn't.
Yeah,
So, you know, that adds another little element of fuck, we don't want him to get there. Pardon my
yeah.
French.
No, yeah, for sure. Like you don't want to see what the next one is, but exactly to your point of like we we get this sense of like, oh snap, like what happens if he does absorb the androids? What
Yep.
happens if he does do that? And
Hmm.
like we don't want him to do that. The whole mission is to try to prevent him from doing that. You know, like it's just there's just kind of layers to the transformation that by the end when he's at full strength, like you like, at least to me, like I felt like wow, like even Goku is not going to save us today,
Yeah.
and which I think was really tight because we kind of get a different perspective of like,
Right.
okay, we're gonna, and it also gives Gohan this sense of thing. But I might be biased because it's also like where my boy Piccolo is. He's one of the top dogs in this one, you know. So I love that.
Respect to
I love
him.
that my
Yep.
boy for a very short amount of time, he was the strongest one.
Well, dude, they also throw in Tien in there. Like,
Yeah, Tien had
you know,
a dope appearance in there
like,
too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Excellent arc.
I think, but my favorite thing, it reminds me of the future arc of Trunks. If you look at like the first episodes when Cell, right? Because there's kind of like the Android saga that kind of
Yeah.
happens right before.
Hmm.
But when I'm thinking about just the Cell like
Right, right, right.
introduction, like there's that one episode where you see him like I forget who finds like the shell of his cocoon or like the shell of his that
Right,
thing,
right,
right?
right, right, right.
And you kind of get this like weird story of like, oh, somebody stole Trunks's pod from the future,
Right, right,
and you
right.
don't know what the hell's happening. And there's like mystique, and there's that episode where you're kind of like, what the hell is just happening? You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they find this old beaten up thing that looks like Trunks, and they're like, oh, this is Trunks thing, and then he's like, well, what is that? How does that make any sense? And they
Exactly.
start finding his shell, and then all of a sudden you kind of get this reveal of like this ugly creature that is just like, what the hell is this bug? You know, there's just
Right.
this
Yeah.
bug that's around, and he's so like he's so detached from he's not human, so
Yeah.
he has no problem killing cities
Right. Yeah.
and just and completely terrorizing the place that he's in, and he just does it in this cold way where he's just like, I don't fucking care, like
Yep.
I really don't care about
Yeah.
this, you know. And so you kind of get this like man, it's just such a dope introduction to him. And
Yeah.
again, it reminds me of the Trunks saga, because that first episode does such a good job of kind of putting out the setting.
Right.
And it's kind of on that set that this arc follows it up with better stuff than the future arc.
Yeah. And yeah, no, 100%. I think there's so many great themes in this arc. And to your point, the introduction to Cell and Cell's motives were he wants to find 18 and 17, obviously. Um, that is his that is what he's here to do. He's
Yeah.
here to find those two and become his perfect form. We have now somewhat, I mean, not, I'm not saying we have grown an attachment to 18, but now she's kind of part of the squad and she's brought her brother along with with
Mhm.
her, so that she's kind of with the good guys now. So, you know, they did that excellently where
And it's ambiguous though, right? Like it's ambiguous.
right.
Like you actually don't really know that they're part of the team, right?
Yeah,
Like
you don't.
you
You
don't.
don't.
Like you're like they could
It's
turn at any moment.
yeah, and you don't know whether to trust them or not. Um and one of the things that I really like about this arc is the theme of the father son. Um because and really it's the son surpassing the father. Um and that's kind of one of those things. Fuck, who was it? Was it there's like a philosopher who said that you you can't it is only until you've become independent from your father that you can take on the world, like
Mhm.
um because your father is that protective cloak. Well, this is manifested in that where you have obviously Vegeta incredibly strong. He trains, he becomes even stronger. I mean, he achieves Super Vegeta and he's just feeling himself. This is Vegeta. Swag is all the way up to maximum, you know?
Mhm.
And I
Probably
mean,
one of my favorite favorite performances of him.
yeah, incredible. I mean, the fact that he's so confident that he tells Cell to go ahead and absorb 18, like
Yeah, yeah. Let him absorb him,
yeah,
please.
to make it a challenge. And Vegeta has that very distinct tone in his voice when he speaks that it
Yeah,
just resonates even more. Like he's so charismatic. But there is that, like, him and Trunks are complete opposites. I
yeah,
mean, Trunks is more reserved, he's more timid, he's obviously, yeah, he's shy. Or Vegeta is flamboyant, he's boisterous, he's super confident. Both of them extremely strong, but there's that moment, and I know we've talked about it, but where Cell tells Vegeta, like, he tells him, "You must not get it yet, right? Like, your son is stronger than you."
mhm.
And that destroys Vegeta. Like he I mean, Cell didn't
Yeah,
even have to go deep in his bag of fucking insults to really destroy Vegeta. He just had to say that, and it cuts Vegeta deep. because it happens to all of us. Like, obviously, again, super philosophical and deep here, but it does happen to all of us where at one point we start to tail off and, you know, we get surpassed.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, you know, and if you're a father and you have a son, like obviously you can really draw the parallel here, but that happens, you know, that happens to Vegeta, and Vegeta can't accept it. You know,
Yeah.
he's not going to accept it, and Trunks isn't going to um mm, like force it upon him either. He's not going to make it a point to show that he's stronger than Vegeta. And that's just a great theme in that fight. And then when you look at Goku and Gohan, it's the antithesis of what we saw with Vegeta and Trunks, where
Hmm.
Goku, he's more gracefully bowing out, if you will.
Yeah.
He knows like my my time's coming up. My son will surpass me, and that's okay, you know. And
Yeah.
Vegeta's
I'm gonna
like, "No,
train.
fuck that, dude."
Yeah, I'm gonna train him. Yeah, I'm gonna train him.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, you see the different training styles, right? Of like
yeah,
Vegeta's, it's like I'm gonna just try to pound you to the ground,
yeah,
and like that's the type of tough love that you're gonna get. And
yeah,
Goku's kind of like, no, son, you gotta get angry. I'm trying to teach you the way of
right.
getting to the next level. You know what I'm saying? And one of my favorite parts about that is like there's just this sense of doubt in Gohan. Again, we go back to that teenage anguish, but like it's just so real, you know, where he's
Yeah,
just really doubting of like there's that like part, and we're kind of jumping all over the place, but in that saga, there's this part where Gohan has that inner dialogue of like, I don't know how to do this.
yeah, for
I
sure.
don't know how to make this jump. Like, I don't get why my dad thinks this of me. I don't understand
Yeah,
how to get there. You know, I don't see it. I don't know how. And just like there's just like this like inner doubt that like you just really feel for him to
yeah.
get to the next level, and he doesn't necessarily know how to do that. And I super resonate with that because
Oh,
I'm
dude,
like,
we've all been there, dude. We've
yeah,
all
I
been
don't.
there.
Like I have a hard time getting angry now. Like it's hard to even just channel that. Like for me, like
Yeah.
like for me, you know what I'm saying? Because that's I was taught that being angry was a bad thing. So it's just
Mm,
like not. I find it super hard to engage with that and just to
mm.
be let it out. I mean, some people, I'm sure it's easy for them to let their anger out, but I super resonate with that part of like, oh yeah, I
Yeah,
feel you. It's
because
it's it's tough.
and there is that because all of us have in a way we can all relate because our you know dads are normally, like I said, that protective cloak. Mothers are very nurturing, um but dads are like that protective cloak, and we know like they'll be there for us. And in this case, Goku, he's protected him his whole life. And he tells him like, now it's your turn. Of course, he's like 13 years old, my God. Uh, but he's like, now is your turn to, in a way, like become a man, like come into your own, have that this it's time for you to develop your own story. Like I won't be here forever. And
Yeah.
that's so powerful. And you're like you said, Gohan's he's reluctant, you know. They have that moment where they're there's like that in between, that gap in between when the cell games start and when Goku and Gohan finish training, where they're in Super Saiyan form and they're in their regular clothes and they're kind of just they're doing more meditative stuff. They're kind of enjoying the moment, spending time with Chi Chi, like,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of time there for, you know, introspective conversations. And like you said, everyone's been there, dude. I can relate to that so many times, dude. Like when, you know, when I've gone and played like a big soccer game and I'm like, fuck, these dudes are supposed to be really good. And but you have to do that, you know, like because you won't grow without it, you know.
Mhm.
And Gohan grows, like he comes to his own, right? So incredible, like it's an incredible story, you know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, man. There's so many different pieces, right? Like you have 16 in that moment with
16.
Gohan.
Oh,
Like you see a transition between 16 and there's
mm-hmm.
that like part about the bomb and taking out the bomb and like him kind of falling short or he thought that was gonna be it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And like those last words of like, we kind of get those like little pieces there trying to egg Gohan on to go to the next level, and he's just like struggling to still
Hmm.
do it, as many of us like I think struggle with, right? Of like, how do we get to the next level in our life? How do we get to our purpose? How do we get to that actualization that will lead us to the life that we want to lead?
Hmm.
And it just so like it's so powerful that there's so many like leading parts like that, and you get also then you get some comedy in there where my boy Hercule gets in there, and
Yeah.
they get the introduction of my boy, and I love the cell games. Like when I think about a tournament, like I love just like the it just kind of like the spirit behind that, where
Mm,
he's just like, I want to put on show like that. I'm gonna just destroy everybody that you
right.
think is like the top dog here to show you that they're not anything. And he's just talking smack throughout the whole game, and you got
Of
Hercule in
course.
there, and you know what I'm saying? It's just such a dope element. And it's not even so much fighting in the tournament, it's not even really
No.
so much of it. It's just him really just bulldozing through the competition.
Yeah. No, definitely. And then, he's like he's n- they're no match for him. I mean, it feels like Goku when he first starts fighting Cell, like okay, they're neck and neck, but then he just kind of bows out. He's like, "All right, uh, you're gonna fight Gohan now," and uh, Gohan has an incredible. The story centered around him, of course. Like you said, he has his moment with 16, um, but that these father son undertones, which is great because you have a podcast which I've listened to, by the way. Uh,
Thanks.
yeah, so little perfect, not even a segue, but whatever. I kind of had to mention it there just because I'm drawing all kinds of parallels now. Uh,
Yeah.
but the father son theme, right? And then when Cell kills Trunks and Vegeta the entire time had been giving Trunks a cold shoulder. We're kind of like, damn, do you really love this dude? Like, this is your son. This is your child. Do you care for him? Of course, he hasn't had the chance to really develop a relationship, but still, that's your blood. And so when you were training, it felt like he was he wasn't it felt like you were using him as a punching bag. It wasn't
Mhm.
like you were training him. He was training with you, where Goku, it felt like Goku was training Gohan.
Yeah.
Um, but then, anyways, Cell kills Trunks and Vegeta goes crazy. And Vegeta has those moments where he loses he's blinded by his rage. He sees tragedy and he launches himself on impulse, and he does that, and that shows you no, he did care. And Vegeta has his own way. He obviously we learn about that, but he has his own way of kind of expressing his love and how he cares. But there's just so many cool themes. 16, the kind of peace warrior, like he doesn't want to fight, but he's just been programmed to fight, right?
Yeah, he has like that like Broly vibe, where they're just kind of like the brute,
Yeah.
and they're like being controlled by somebody else, but they don't
Right.
really want to be. They want to be playing with a dog, but in Broly's
Right.
case,
Right.
you know. And 16 wants to be in nature, and
Yeah.
he kind of,
Yeah.
kind of like this softness about him that
Yeah.
I think speaks to it,
Yeah.
So he reminds me of Broly in that in that sense, maybe not strength wise, but just character development wise. I think
Right.
that's they start kind of playing with that idea of like
Yeah.
the root and like just the tenderness that lies beneath it, and then it becomes an emotional piece when they kill him.
Yeah.
When Cell just kind of just annihilates him pretty much, it just becomes an emotional piece. There's an emotional tie because you know that he didn't necessarily like
He
deserve
wasn't
that.
looking for this. Yeah. He was
Yeah,
acting on what he was being programmed to do.
yeah.
And yet he developed a conscience somehow. But shit, dude, we talked a lot about the two arcs. I mean, those two arcs are, the best ones in Dragon Ball Z. Um, I think it's pretty unanimous that they are. So, and I don't even think we didn't even touch on, maybe 50, 60% of what they actually, or maybe we talked about 50 or 60% of what actually happened in those arcs. Like they're so rich with story, and
Yeah.
we can find these undertones all day if we wanted to, but
Hmm.
um it was just
But
like
we're
you
not.
said. Yeah, we're not, we're not,
But we're not.
we're not,
But we're not.
we're not. But nah, it was two incredible arcs, man, and it's just
Which one's
it's
your
good
favorite?
theater. Ah, fuck. I gotta go. Uh, man, that's so tough. So, um, I think I'll go Namek.
Hmm.
Okay, I'll go Namek, and I love the cell. So, I mean, I just kind of gushed over it for the last 30 minutes, but I love the Cell arc. Love it. Incredible characters. Again, they know how to use the roster. It doesn't feel too big. Incredible. Great stories. We talked about the themes. But for um for Namek, it felt like this was the moment for Saiyans, and this was it. This was where they got their revenge. Um, this was where, for me, because obviously Goku's my favorite character, but Goku, again, and I stress this every time we talk about his character, he's not the deepest, he's not the smartest, but he represents the character within his own race that was at the bottom of the barrel. And here he is somehow representing the Saiyans. And he tells Vegeta, I will take care of him. And I mean, it all comes full circle. We talked about Bardock being killed by Frieza, but then his last words saying, "My son still lives." It just felt like it all came full circle, and it really resonated with me. And then, obviously Goku turned Super Saiyan, and I'm like, what the hell is this? This is
Yeah.
different,
Hmm.
So, how about? I mean, for you, yeah, for you, like you said, it was the Cell arc.
Yeah.
Um,
It's the Cell. I think it's the Cell one for me.
yeah,
I mean, I think the only, I mean, I don't know if there's any knocks on it. At least in my opinion, the only knock is not even really with the arc. I think it's the fact that the show didn't end there. I think that that's really my only knock on it. Is just that I think it would have just been a perfect ending if they would have just ended there. Because the the following arc kind of just for the at least for the Cell Saga, it kind of it didn't really make sense. But in regards to the Cell and the way it ended, I liked it. I think if anything, that would probably be the only thing that I didn't particularly like about which was the ending. I mean, obviously the Kamehameha with the dad, the father son, you know, iconic,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Gracie,
Hmm.
and even his cockiness. So I mean, you love to see that. Um, but they kind of played with the idea of him like coming back, like where Goku kind of like instant transmissions out of there with him as he's about to explode.
Yeah.
And he kind of turns into like a big balloon type of deal. Like it was all right, that part was a little
Right. It was
it
suspect.
was, it was a little suspect, but that's about it for me, at least in regards to this arc. I mean, I liked his other forms too.
Yeah.
Where I actually enjoy his first form. Where he's actually kind of weak and he's having to just be sneaky, and so I like his other forms because it allows even when Piccolo was engaging him in his semi-perfect one, it was just like, oh, this is tight.
Yeah.
Piccolo's his own and he's doing his thing.
Yep.
So it's yeah, I mean it's just a great arc.
Great arc. Yeah, you're right. The whole like where Goku dies, I was kind of like, uh,
Well, he was gonna die anyway, so
yeah.
just like it just kind of felt a little off.
It
They
it
kind of
felt a little
needed to
weird,
let it
and it felt a little unbecoming. I mean, but maybe it makes, I don't know. Uh, I was gonna say it felt like, yeah, a character of that magnitude probably shouldn't die like that.
go.
But
Yeah.
either way, it is what it is. But yeah, incredible arc. It
I
was.
do have one final question: is like, why do you think that Cell is the most unpopular villain in Japan? Like, what's your
my
analysis
th-
of that? Like,
my
why do you think it
theory.
didn't translate necessarily? Because I rarely meet people that say that Cell's their favorite villain.
Um, Man, that's a great question. I think.
And I'm not saying you got to talk for the Japanese people,
Right, right,
but
right. I'm
in
just
in
theorizing.
your
Yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
like
yeah.
what do you think didn't necessarily translate his like villainry to like
I
you know to the people? I guess you would say like what
Right,
is
right.
it?
Like what
What do you
didn't
think that they like? There was a disconnect there. I feel like.
I think I think is I think because his demeanor was a little bit like Frieza's.
Mm,
He was, very cocky and he was very patronizing. Like he he reminded me a little bit of Frieza, but he still felt unique. Like to me, Frieza and Cell, there's a reason why they were together in GT is because they almost kind of make this cool dynamic duo. But I think like coming off of the Namek saga, he felt a little too much like Frieza. Like
mm,
his actual demeanor, like oh, it's like you can't touch me, like that type of thing. Um, and so that's me. I'm just kind of talking out of my ass, to be honest.
yeah, their theory.
Yeah, and then like a Japanese
Yeah.
person can come like respond and just go off on us or on me,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. Do you have any idea?
I think it's similar. I think it's in the same vein. I think if anything, the only thing that hurt the arc was the fact that it was coming at the tail end of this amazing Namek arc.
Yeah,
That it's kind of a big it's kind of big shoes to fill,
right.
and there is no really quotable lines from Cell. I think that that is
Mm,
one of the knocks is that he doesn't actually really say anything memorable. He doesn't really he's
mhm.
cocky, but like I don't really remember that many lines from him other than his actions. And sometimes, I mean, you know, it's that's one way to do it. He's known for being annihilated by the father son Kamehameha.
Yeah.
So
Sick
there's
ass.
that part. But he
You're
doesn't
right.
he doesn't really stand out as like this like talking tool, which
Right.
is yeah, I think it goes into that role of like he sounds too much like Frieza at times, and
Hmm.
there's no like something that's just him because
Unique to him.
even the way that he fights, it's everyone's powers, right? It's
Right.
like
He's
it's
got the
kind of his key.
Kamehameha. Right.
He got the Kamehameha, like he has all of these things that other people already do.
Right.
So in that, there is really no. I mean, there is uniqueness. Is just that there is. I think it's just really subtle. I think it's
Uh,
just like, oh, this guy's kind of cheating. He just kind of has everybody's moves.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean,
That's a
that's
good
my
point.
theory, but I don't know.
That's a good point. I mean, the move set not being unique, I think that could be definitely a reason. But who knows, man? I think he's popular here. I don't know. I don't know, but I know for sure Frieza beats him when it comes to popularity. There's a reason why
Yeah,
Frieza keeps coming back.
yeah,
Uh,
there is. And then there's a reason why Cell is not coming
yeah,
back. I mean, apparently, I was reading online that like Toriyama like hated drawing him, or whoever was drawing it, Cell, like they hated it because he's like a bug and it's super complicated to draw him. So
I
they're
could
like,
see that.
I
I
don't
could
want to,
see
I don't
that.
want to, I don't want to, I don't want to draw this anymore.
Yeah, I could see that. He's got a more complex design than Frieza for sure.
Yeah,
And definitely than any of the like main protagonist. But shit, dude, I guess we should end it right there, right?
yeah. I don't think we're
Yeah.
gonna go into our
Yeah,
second
into
part.
our own. Well, this was
This is our
fun.
attempt.
Yeah, it was our
Yeah.
attempt, but we stuck to the Dragon Ball theme, us being a Dragon Ball podcast. Before we sign out, I will say, thank you for taking your time to listen. Cheween, good luck. I know you got some big stuff coming up, so good luck. I wish you luck. And to all of you, we appreciate you guys listening. We Would love to hear your feedback. Let us know what you thought about the two arcs. Did you guys love the Namek arc and the Cell arc like we did? Was there one in particular that you liked more? Let us know.
And maybe
And
maybe you like the Boot Saga, or maybe you like
yeah,
the Raditz Saga.
maybe you like Raditz, the
Maybe
Saiyan.
that's
A lot of people love the Saiyan one, dude. And
yeah.
Boo arc, I mean, yeah, you get Vegito, you get Gotenks, you get Super Saiyan 3,
If
you
you like
get
the Boot arc,
do I
you're
like
wrong.
it? Do I like it? I like it, yeah.
No, I said like if you like it, then you're wrong.
Oh shit, dude.
No, I'm
No,
just
dude.
kidding. No, I'm just kidding. No,
Nah,
but
but
it does suck though. But anyway.
all right, bro. That's too harsh. It's hard
Okay,
filling up the two arcs that it was subsequently following, or
that's true.
that was preceding it.
That's
But
true.
anyways, we'll sign off. Thank you everyone, and until next week, stay safe.